Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM 89.0, ArrowFM, and MPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Howdy.
We've got some Raw and some SmackDown to get through, and also a little bit of NXT news that we will touch on this week on the show. But we're going to start off on Raw in the women's tag team sort of division. Kairi Sane, women's tag team champion, went up against Raw women's champion Becky Lynch.
Yeah, pretty classic. That was just continuing the storyline of the heel turn of our tag team champions.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying these new personas coming out of the Kabuki Warriors. And before this match, they sort of discarded Paige by blowing green mist into her face. As you say, further cementing the fact that these two have taken a heel turn.
Yep, they're submitted, and I'm very interested in seeing where they go with them. Because for the first time, I feel like they're actually caring about those titles.
Mm-hmm.
Considering who's have held them, that's shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. You know, they've gone through so many different title holders who could have done great things, and then when they dropped them to the Kabuki Warriors, we were all sort of just like, okay, so they're not going to do anything with them. You know, history shows they're probably not going to do anything with these two superstars. And as you say, this time they're actually getting a little bit of a highlight, and it seems as though no sort of offense to Kairi here, but it looks like they're almost heating up a feud inside of that of Asuka versus Becky, and sort of, you know, saving that match. Obviously, Kairi versus Becky happening on Raw, but saving the Asuka collision.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, she was the last person to actually beat Becky straight up.
Mm. And if you're looking at like who could potentially challenge these women's tag team champions, we had another women's tag match, the first women's tag match on Raw later on. The Iconics taking on a team up of Charlotte Flair and Natalya, with the random duo actually walking out with the victory.
Sounds about right.
So potential option there of teaming up Charlotte with Natalya. Give Charlotte maybe a few more accolades.
Yeah, it's very possible. I was kind of on board with Natalya and Lacey Evans becoming a tag team. I thought that would be an interesting pairing.
Yeah, it definitely seemed as though, you know, with their feud that apparently is still going on, that a nice ending to that would have been to switch them into a tag team or to pair them up in some way. But that's not what they're doing, as they will have probably fought by now, by the time this show goes up to air, meaning that as of airing, they are still in the middle of a feud, so not quite a tag team just yet.
Yep.
The sad part of all that is it meant that the Iconics had to lose. They have not had a very good run since losing these tag belts.
They didn't even have a good run as the tag champions.
You make a good point. They haven't had a very good run, full stop. It seems as though they lost the belts and then they disappeared off the face of the earth. They've come back and they're struggling to pick up a win or getting any momentum. Of course, what we're all discussing with the Kabuki Warriors as the women's tag champs may be completely and utterly moot by the time this goes out. If Tegan and Nox can win on NXT, but we will have known that by now. So this is a really strange thing to say if it's already
especially
happened.
When you said Tegan and Nox.
Yeah, I messed up. You're not meant to call out when I mess up. Meant to just shimmy past it. Obviously Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai.
Yeah, unfortunately for you, Team Kick failed to succeed in capturing the tag titles as expected.
Yeah. There was a chance. That chance got a lot less when the Kabuki Warriors started to pick up steam. But, at least we got a little bit of NXT involvement. When we said these belts were going to cross across all of the brands, now they have, so people can be happy. And maybe Team Kick challenge for them again at some point in the future. Who knows? Another new championship, the 24/7 championship, although not directly involved in the R-Truth versus Buddy Murphy match. 24/7 competitors, including the champions, one half of the Singh brothers, begin circling the ring and distracting R-Truth so that Buddy Murphy can pick up the win. Just a bunch of goofy stuff.
Yeah, and Murphy continues to gain some momentum.
Yeah, as much as nowadays he's the 24/7 champion, R-Truth, that's nothing to shrug at. Buddy Murphy has been putting on some great matches and picking up some great wins, so it doesn't really matter who it's against. Him picking up wins against established stars like R-Truth is only going to be good for him. So, of course, Buddy Murphy, my guy, Australian, but my other guy, Drew McIntyre, failed on paper to pick up a win. But I don't think outside of on paper it really went that way. He was in a rematch against Ricochet, but it turns out that Randy Orton decided to come in, interrupt the match, cause a DQ victory so that Ricochet technically won the match.
Hey, I'll take any wins I can get.
I love that, accidentally, somehow, my guy ended up in a feud with your guy. It's been great. But we'll see if it continues, I guess, past this week. I imagine the Drew McIntyre Ricochet part might.
It's very possible. I mean, he was the last match Drew had before he disappeared for his injury.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, very possible. Or it's just possible that since that was the case, they decided just to pair the two of them up until the match that shouldn't be named finishes.
Yeah, because the next pay-per-view we're heading into is Survivor Series for the main roster. Typically, Survivor Series is where you see 5 versus 5 teams collide in an elimination tag team match. Luckily, the elimination gimmick isn't on today, but the rest of it is. So we could actually potentially see a very similar team up of 5 guys versus 5 guys. But that all comes down to, are we going to be doing brand supremacy at Survivor Series again this year?
Who knows, but I do think some big things are coming for your boy.
Yeet. And sorry, but I don't think any big things are coming for your boy.
He's in a good spot.
Yeah. He's upper mid. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying he's not going to win the Universal Championship anytime soon. Then we've also got, as I skim up, the Viking Raiders, although tag champs, and we said they were finally getting some competition in the tag team division, they go back to squishing jobbers.
Yeah, you gotta pass time somehow.
Yeah. It seems as though that pretty much is what it was. We don't have a feud for them yet. They're not doing a whole hell of a lot. So let's just skip through it and pretend that this week didn't happen. Restart next week, after we know who's going to be holding this World Cup, and reassess and give them a new feud starting then.
Yeah, because we're still dealing with the fallout from the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, we'll be full born once we get past this particular week.
Yeah. Once this is all cleared up, we can really start to see the landscape of Raw and SmackDown heading into the future, exactly where all the chess pieces are going to lie. Especially heading into Survivor Series, which I imagine I've looked at the little poster. It's still got the red and blue motif. So I could see the fact that they could be doing brand supremacy at Survivor Series still possibly. We'll have to wait and see exactly what gimmick they decide to pull out for that. A thing of note, though, here about Raw that you probably wouldn't have expected a little while ago, or definitely not a year ago, but Seth Rollins took on Eric Rowan. Wasn't even the last match of the card, but Seth Rollins did take on Eric Rowan in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Ultimately picking up the victory, of course.
With the a Mick Foley trick.
Classic.
Good old forklift for the win.
Obviously, The Fiend is still on a collision course with Seth Rollins. So I don't know if this was just a bit of a throwback to the fact that Eric Rowan was previously in the Wyatt family. But it's still quite a strong position on the card for Eric Rowan. He has definitely propelled himself into the upper mid card, which I was a little worried about after the draft and his feud with Reigns and his feud with Daniel Bryan and all that came to an end. I was a little worried what was going to be in the future for Eric Rowan. So hopefully this is a good sign.
Yeah. I've got hopes that it's a good sign that he's in a good position too.
What does it mean for Luke Harper's future? I cannot answer that question.
Probably going back to his couch.
Yeah, but at least it's comfortable there. So we're roughly halfway through the show, and as always, if you've listened to the show before, that means we now play an entrance theme of a wrestler that was featured this week, and Josh selected Drew McIntyre, and I said sure, but only if it's his classic theme. So you'll be getting Drew McIntyre's theme from, I think it was about 2013, called Broken Dreams. And you're back with Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. We still got a little bit of Raw. I moved on a little bit prematurely, but we still got some stuff here to mention. Sin Cara has found himself a buddy to combat Andrade and Zelina Vega. He brought along himself with Carolina, a masked luchador. So it seems as though Sin Cara Andrade might be a little bit of a feud. We were talking about the Latin American Hispanic market and who would be the next one there.
Yeah, this is just another feud to further elevate Andrade as necessary, especially to establish him as the top guy for the Latino market on the heel side.
Yeah, that heel side is pretty important to mention because we also, in the last match of the night, Humberto Carrillo took on United States champion AJ Styles.
Had another good match. I think they're definitely trying to push him.
And that's quite a big position. You know, we were talking about Eric Rowan being in quite a good position in the card, but going up against AJ Styles and sort of being in that mid-card title position is quite a good one for someone who just sort of popped up out of 205 Live with not a whole lot of people knowing who they are.
Yeah, very true. But this is definitely an excellent way to introduce somebody if you're developing a new talent that nobody knows. Get them in with some big time matches with the top guys. They don't have to win because they're not expected to, but you give them a good strong match and good strong showing, and sometimes fans will start to really gravitate behind them.
Yeah, and I think this feud isn't going anywhere anytime soon because we actually saw at the end of the match Humberto Carrillo almost fall prey to the OC when two other new talents, to the main roster people. The Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, coming out to save him. So it seems as though we're going to have a bit of a 6-man feud for the next few weeks.
Could be beginning the building that 5-on-5 match.
That's true. It's about the time to start building 5-on-5s. Got to start grouping people together naturally. And I wouldn't be surprised. But it's a real strong position as well for the Street Profits. Coming in now on Raw, going up against the OC as well. So that's 3 really great new young talents going up against 3, I want to call them old, great talents who are veterans in the industry.
3 established talents, 1 that's a Hall of Famer, and 2 that are just tacked on.
Fair. At least within their performances in the WWE, definitely fair. I think Carl Anderson could do great singles, but I don't think the Good Brothers have been split up since going to the WWE.
No.
What do we got? We got Friday Night SmackDown and some NXT news. Let's get through them both. What do we got here? Daniel Bryan. He's sort of entering a feud now with Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura.
Can't say I'm really that surprised, especially after the Teddy Long special, and we do need somewhere to go from after tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I guess the interesting part here is that Sami Zayn sort of gave him a bit of a proposition, and Daniel Bryan didn't say no. Daniel Bryan he didn't shake his hand either. He just walked away. So possibly Sammy's going to be building himself a little bit of a stable here if Daniel Bryan changes his mind and accepts the proposition.
Yeah, but it doesn't really make much sense, and WWE does need somebody to be like the top face for the company since Seth is absolutely bombed.
Well, if we're talking top faces, then we're going to have to go to the 6-man tag main event, which I think is a bunch of competitors who will be going on tomorrow night. Roman Reigns, Ali, and Shorty G defeated the team of Shinsuke Nakamura, King Corbin, and Cesaro. So there's 3 faces you can use.
Yep. Ali got the win, by the way. On a team involving Roman Reigns, it was Ali that scored the win. They're definitely building Ali and Shorty G, regardless of how you feel about the name. There's a push going on here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You know, you're seeing parallels with sort of hot young new talent. On SmackDown you got Ali and Shorty G finding their way to the top of the card. You look over at Raw. You've got your Humberto Carrillo, Andrade. You've got maybe a little bit of Eric Rowan in there. I know he's not as new or fresh as these other guys, but you got some people simmering up to the top as the cream of the crop rises to the top. And we're seeing that a lot with this new talent. And I'm quite excited to see what the landscape is in like a year from now, where these people that we're discussing and we're saying these are the newer talent will become sort of the established stars at that point, and be running the show. I can definitely see guys like Ali holding big championships in the next 12 months. Let's look over a little bit to NXT. There was some news coming out about NXT TakeOver War Games, the next big show for NXT, on November 23rd in America, 24th in New Zealand. We will see the first ever Women's War Games match. One team will be captained by Shayna Baszler, and the other team will be captained by Rhea Ripley.
That will be very interesting. Not just because it's the first ever for that match type, but with all the people that Rhea has rubbed the wrong way in her quest to try to get a hold of Shayna Baszler, who is actually going to agree to team with her?
That's true. Like, if you look at the segment that was involved in this sort of announcement, Shayna Baszler obviously going to pick Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke for her team, I would assume. I would also think, is this traditionally 4-4 teams? I believe that's how NXT pulled it off.
It's going to be, I think the two tag teams typically are 4-on-4.
Yeah, so Shayna's got to find herself a friend. If there was a third team,
it would be 3-on-3.
So Shayna's got to find a friend, but also involved in that sort of segment were Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai, as well as Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, and Bianca Belair. So you can almost see your teams there, to be fair. If the four horsewomen pick up Io Shirai, and then the other side has Nox, Kai, Ripley, and then you got to decide between Candice LeRae and Bianca Belair. Someone's going to be missed out.
There's always the possibility that they could pull a stunt where Sheena and Rippy aren't even involved in the match.
That's true.
They're just captaining the match, and then they're having their own title match outside of that.
Or, crazy theory, right? 5-5, Shayna Baszler's team is missing a member, Ronda Rousey shows up on NXT.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Io Shirai would randomly be included as a fifth member, and it would be a little awkward, but the pop that would get.
Heck, let's take Io Shirai out of the equation entirely and still have a 4-on-4 match, but we don't know who the fourth is.
It's true.
And then when it's time for the final member of the team to come out, that's when we hear bad reputations.
I feel like if there is an open spot on Team Shayna Baszler, in the back of everyone's mind, they're going to be thinking, that would make sense if it was Ronda. But there's no way it's Ronda. You know, in that way where, when it happens, you go, that was pretty obvious, but you're still shocked. It's something you expect, but you don't expect to happen.
Yeah, like Luke Harper helping Eric Rowan.
It makes complete and utter sense.
Yeah, you just didn't expect it.
It was almost the too obvious of choice. It couldn't be right. So I even if they don't pull it off, you know, even if Ronda's not coming back, I kind of hope they leave the empty slot on the team just so they can pull some stunt. So that is the War Games match we will be getting at NXT TakeOver War Games. A little bit different than what we'd expected. There had been a couple other teams that were starting to mesh together that we could have seen used in the War Games gimmick. But instead...
Who's said that's the only War Games match we're getting?
Dun, dun, dun! Does that mean I can still get my men's singles match? My, 1v1, v1, 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 v1?
No, but we will probably see a men's Wars Games match, too.
Okay. But I don't get my, 8-way match with all the top guys. It's fine. It's fine. I will accept this, and I will move on.
Yeah, Finn turning heel completely blew your plan up.
Yeah, it did. It kind of tips the favor in sort of the Undisputed Era plus Finn type scenario. Problem being, a lot of the gold is sitting on that side, so if that is the one to go for, and it's not a sort of winners take all kind of scenario, there's not a whole lot of title matches that are going to be happening in November for the NXT TakeOver brand.
It's not that big of a deal, because it's just like Survivor Series back in the day. There weren't a lot of title matches on Survivor Series until 92.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that's the way to go. And I believe, I'm doing quick Googles now, that would mean that the Undisputed Era would have competed in a War Games match every year, I believe. 2017 saw the Undisputed Era win against the Authors of Pain and Roderick Strong, as well as Sanity. And then 2018 saw the Undisputed Era lose against the team of War Raiders, Ricochet, and Pete Dunne.
Yeah. Well, they're basically the four horsemen of this generation, essentially. Because that's what the War Games was. It was a way for the faces to get a comeuppance on the four horsemen back in the day.
It's sort of coming full circle, almost, in terms of the point of the match. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And if the Undisputed Era are in there, they got that cool little acknowledgement of being in all three War Games pay-per-views. But I look forward to seeing what both the men and the women pull off in NXT. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, anywhere across the wrestling world?
I can't think of anything right now.
That's a good answer, because we're almost at time for the show, so it's been great talking to you.
Maybe.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRadio, Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRadio, and we will see you next week with absolutely not the results of the show that we completely didn't talk about this week.